Congressman Luis Gutierrez in asking President Obama to commute the sentence of Puerto Rican freedom fighter Oscar Lopez Rivera. We were able to get President Obama to do that, so I'm very happy that we were able to accomplish that on the third week. On the fourth week, I introduced legislation called This Land is Our Land Act, H.R. 739, which proposes that the federal government should not have the ability to build a border wall on public land. That legislation has gotten dozens of co-sponsors. I joined Democratic colleagues to speak in opposition to the travel ban issued by President Trump, which was at the heart of a discriminatory ban on Muslims. And I introduced also during that fourth week Resolution 72 supporting Dominican Heritage Month. Also joined on the floor Congressman Beto O'Rourke from Texas to affirm the benefits the U.S.-Mexican relationship has and the absurdity of spending money on a wall instead of strengthening and fortifying our own domestic needs. That was week number 4. On week number 5, we led 62 members of Congress in sending a letter to Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, to reverse course and take a stand against the implementation of President Trump's Muslim ban executive order. We also issued a statement in recognition of the Day of National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, reflecting on HIV's impact within the African American community and encouraging testing, support, and awareness. Also, finalizing that week, we opposed the confirmation of Betsy DeVos as the next U.S. Secretary of Education and issued a statement highlighting her lack of qualifications and glaring inexperience working in public education. Sixth week in Congress, we reintroduced the African Burial Ground International Memorial Museum and Education Center Act, along with other members of the New York delegation. This legislation would authorize funding and establish a museum at the African burial grounds in Lower Manhattan. We also held several town halls on ACA entitled The Health of Our Nations, from national security to ACA. We also had a strong forum attended by close to 600 people where we discussed the emoluments clause. We discussed General Flynn's resignation, as well as the repeal and replace efforts of ACA and the status of the Affordable Care Act. Currently, we're working with 4 committees that were set up at that forum to continue to organize and work with folks that attended, and so they can come up with proposed legislation, public policy, and an action plan to continue to combat the Trump administration. We also condemn the arrest of an innocent dreamer and the ongoing targeted raids conducted by the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, ICE, that are terrorizing immigrant communities. We praise the unveiling of the United States postage stamp honoring Dominican-American fashion designer and a lifelong friend of mine, Oscar de la Renta, during that 6th week. The 7th week, we spoke out against the threat of mass deportation of immigrants and DACA individuals under President Trump with Allison Camerata at CNN, and hosted a Black History celebration in our district office in Harlem, honoring the contribution of African American women in the 13th Congressional District. The former Borough President C. Virginia Fields was honored there, Mrs. Butts from the Abyssinian Baptist Church, Hazel Dukes from the NAACP, and the president of the executive director of Harlem Hospital. Those were the 4 women that were honored at that particular event. Week number 8, I've introduced legislation to make our government safe act, which is H.R. 1248, to prevent individuals such as Steve Bannon, who have threatened to destroy the government for participating in or attending National Security Council meetings. I'm happy to report that this past week, Steve Bannon stepped down from the National Security Council. We also introduced ghost gun legislation, H.R. 1278, with Congressman Schneider from Illinois, which now has 13 co-sponsors. This bill will close the ghost gun loopholes, which currently allows purchasers to avoid federal background checks by buying unassembled firearms online. So we're looking to close that loophole to ensure that people do not buy unassembled firearms online and are able to circumvent the background checks that are needed for all gun purchases. We also issued a statement honoring Women's History Month and spoke on the floor about it, and joined members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus outside of the United States Department of Justice to make our call for Attorney General Sessions to resign loud and clear after learning of his lying on the road during the Senate confirmation. On week number 9, I testified before the House Committee on Appropriations, Subcommittee on Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development in support of funding for New York City housing and infrastructure in the 13th Congressional District. We also introduced a resolution opposing fake news and alternative facts, Resolution 181. This resolution stands in support of the First Amendment of the Constitution to uphold the freedom of press and oppose fake news and alternative facts. I spoke on the House floor in opposition to the GOP's American Health Care Act and its detrimental impact that it will have on the 13th Congressional District. Also submitted amendments to a bill, H.R. 985, the Fairness in Class Action Litigation and Further Asbestos Claim Transparency Act, which basically what it means is that Republicans are trying to prevent asbestos victims from joining class action suits when they've been found to be contaminated with asbestos. So we're trying to clear the way for anybody that is hurt through asbestos to be able to join a class action suit with other victims. On week number 10, I introduced the ICE and Border Patrol Body Camera Accountability Act. This bill will require both ICE agents and Border Patrol to always wear body cameras while on duty. We have got over 26 sponsors for the bill. General Kennedy has said he will be supportive of the bill, and we're looking to see how we can get the funding for this particular initiative. We also released a statement assailing the GOP American Health Care Act, H.R. 1628, that the nonpartisan congressional budget found will lead 24 million Americans to lose their health coverage, including 14 million in 2018 alone. We oppose the proposed draconian cuts supported by the Trump administration that would adversely affect New York's 13th Congressional District constituency. I made clear then and continue to be resolute that I stand firm in my opposition to Trump's budget and will work to ensure that these cuts are never enacted. We were successful in holding back the repeal efforts. The Republicans did not have the votes. We must continue to fight to ensure that we preserve Obamacare and we preserve health coverage for all the Americans that benefit from it right now.